growing list of grandchildren. Number two. Congratulations.
Just waiting to be spoiled.
Yes. Okay, this is time for the public input period. That's an opportunity for public to address council on topics of relevance to City Council. A maximum of 4 speakers for no more than 3 minutes each will be accommodated. Mr. Anderson, welcome.
I'm here on behalf of the Municipal Pension Retirees Association, and I think most of you are aware of that. And just a moment to talk about the public sector pensions and the municipal pension plan, to whom the city staff are contributors at the moment and hopefully recipients. All too often, this is something that came up with me this week, all too often the public sector pensions are referred to as a drain on the tax dollar, and the common term is gold-plated plans. I just want to make you aware that this just is not the case. I wish I had the time to go into a lot more details. The public sector pensions are negotiated plans, often in lieu of wages and benefits. And as young adults, many workers that I have known would opt out if they had the option when they first started. And as they grow older, they start to appreciate the fact that they were forced in some ways as full-time employees to contribute to these plans and prepare for their retirement years. The majority of the recipients in the municipal plan are women, and a large percentage receive a pension of $500 to $1,000 a month. The majority of those are in the 500 plus little bit level. Those are certainly not gold-plated. 75% of our pension comes from investments from our plan, 75%. The other 25% from employees who are working and employer contributions. Retirees, whether in the public or the private sector, who are able to contribute to a pension plan, again, are not a drain on the system. They're able to retire and to contribute to local economies, and they are not as reliant on the many government subsidies that are out there for people who are not fortunate enough to be able to contribute to plans. The local economy in Port Alberni at this time, I believe, is sustained by many public and private sector workers. And I think it's fair to say that the criticisms in the past are a means of trying to cut down costs, and this is not the way to do it. It is time that we stopped criticizing the public sector plans for their foresight to negotiate and contribute to their security in their retirement years, to be less reliant on government subsidies, and explore ways that, and maybe we should be exploring ways that we can ensure that everyone has an opportunity to contribute to a group retirement plan, and that is possible if the will is there. Now that I've done this, I'll go to my advertisement. The Municipal Pension Retirees Association is having our meeting, our September meeting on September 30th at 1 p.m. at Smitty's Restaurant, coffee and snacks, and we're welcoming all recipients and possible recipients of our plan to attend. Our guest will be Councillor Dennis Sauvé as a member of the Seniors Advisory Committee to discuss issues regarding seniors. So I just hope the public start to rethink, and again, this is because of some of the conversation I had with a few people this past week, rethink the whole issue of public sector pensions and how it does help revitalize our economy in time, especially in places like Port Alberni. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There are no delegations, and we do have one item of unfinished business. It's the wood policy. Notice of motion was provided at September 14th regular meeting. Councillor McClellan, you wish to make that motion?
I move that Council of the City of Port Alberni develop a policy that when and where feasible, city construction requiring large beams and timber come from the McLean Mill, milled from logs cut in the community forest.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Any discussion?
Just, Mr. Mayor, to just point out what this is we own the community forest as a city, and we own the McLean Mill as a city, as an heritage site. And we did do this at the water purification plant The timbers for there were milled at McLean Mill, but the logs didn't come from the community forest. But they were milled and they worked, and the contractor that built the facility paid the mill for the money. And so we can either give the McLean Mill subsidies, or when we can, get lumber from them, and I think that's a whole lot better. So, and the board of the community forests have agreed to work with us to see if they can find the required logs somewhere on the forest.
Okay. I know that the big beams in the ceiling of the Ucluelet First Nation Community Building have come from the
All those beams came from the mill, donated, the logs were donated by Western Forest Products to the Ucluelet First Nation. I can't pronounce.
And they're beautiful beams.
It is, it's a beautiful place.
Any other comment, councillors? So then on the motion, all in favor? Carried. We're on to staff reports. Councillor Washington for accounts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the certification of the Director of Finance dated September 28, 2015 be received, and checks numbering 132444 to 132577 inclusive, and payment of accounts totaling $1,159,902.95 be approved.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Carried. We have from the city engineer a report from September 23rd about water restrictions. Welcome, city engineer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to notify council that we're lifting the water restrictions on the city's water supply as of today. I'd like to report that our lake reservoirs recovered quite quickly after the most recent rains. You know, that definitely gives us a lot of confidence in our water supply. Also, our water consumption was down because of the cooler weather. So we're going to lift those water restrictions as of today. And I'd like just to let you know.
Okay, and out of curiosity, what is our water consumption per capita?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, you know, our water consumption per capita is 254 liters per capita per day, approximately, on a residential base. Now, if you take our daily consumption, as I've reported over the summer, we started the spring with 17,000 cubic meters a day, and then, as I reported, we were going down 10%, you know, 20%, and sometimes 30%, bringing us down to around 14,000 cubic meters a day. And I recognize that we may have done the math there, dividing that total number divided by the number of residents in town, and that gives a pretty large number of 900 cubic liters per capita per day. But typically, when you measure water consumption by communities, it's residential, and our residential is really just a third of all the water that we use. We have the commercial and industrial. So back to your question, it's about 250 liters per capita a day, which isn't far off the Canadian average in that regard.
So it was interesting to me at our last week meeting in Vancouver that Port Alberni was seen as a bit of a leader in terms of water usage and monitoring our water consumption and trying to prepare for the future. So I hadn't realized that in comparison to other BC municipalities. We're actually breaking ground.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I appreciate that comment, but we have been working on this project for a number of years, and that there's a couple main pieces there, and it's water conservation and the water rate and sewer rate structure that we adopted here most recently, and they are a conservation-based structure. You know, it is what we need to do to show, for one, that we are managing our resources as wisely as we can, and then as an example to the province for when we want grant funding. It all started some years ago when we started to recognize our challenges with our water system and in our sewer system. As you know, we're moving forward with a new water treatment plant and moving forward with the sewage treatment plant. But the senior levels of government really want to support, but recognize the local government's efforts to conserve the resources. So this is a project that's going on for a number of years, and it's thanks to City Council for allowing us to move forward on those major initiatives.
Councillor Sylvia?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a simple question. I guess we're going to be monitoring during the fall and winter time, as in snow caps and so forth. It seems like we're just having different type of weather, and it's changing every year. So I noticed a motion at hand here, but we're still going to be monitoring and forecasting as into what we might be expecting or not?
Mr. Mayor, I think that's a really good point, because I think up until this summer we felt that we've understood our watershed and how it reacts, but this was a little bit of a stretch, a little bit of an extreme for us. But I can report that today we have a fellow in a boat, and we've hired him to cruise the lakes, Bainbridge Lake and Lizard Lake, and he's doing a sonar sounding of the bottom of the lakes. You know, just so we understand, you know, the full extent of our water system. It essentially is a reservoir. We have an intake pipe. You know, we can estimate the volume of water that we have within that lake to, you know, make us predict how long our water will last, et cetera. But I think more to the point, we want to learn more and more about our watershed. So we'll be watching the snowfalls. We'll be watching. There's a weather station on Aerosmith. It's called, I think it's a group that's put up a weather station there most recently, and there's a snow pillow. There's some new things going on for us to watch and learn more about our watershed. And yeah, I kind of look forward to putting those pieces together as part of our watershed management plan, frankly. You know, it's good due diligence and moving forward like that.
Councillor Elliman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just wanted to point out in some of the sessions, or one of the sessions last week, they were talking about the fire season and water restrictions that other communities have faced, and that you know, they didn't say precisely which communities, but they said that some communities at the end of August there were about 2 weeks away from actually running dry.
Yeah.
So they considered it, the province considered it extremely serious for those communities, of course. So it's nice that, you know, we still have that resource. We didn't get down to quite that level, so that's comforting to know. But it's good, I think, that you're taking the initiative and putting through those sonar scans to kind of get an idea of what we have, because it'd be good to know what our numbers are.
Well, yeah, just where we are in terms of with the whole system. I'd like to point out, I know Council has been interested in water quality monitoring within the watershed as well, and most recently I had a meeting with Ministry of Environment staff on that topic, and we had a great discussion on what they're doing, what Island Timberlands was doing. Island Timberlands attended that meeting, and what the city's doing. And I can report that as a result of that meeting, we're going to coordinate more of our efforts there and have more full-time monitoring. Ministry of Environment just pulled out their monitoring station because they don't have the resources to operate and maintain it. Well, wish we would have known that they were pulling it out, you know, a couple of weeks ago. But in any case, I think we'll be putting that back, and you know, our staff can assist in the calibrations, data collection, and yeah, coordinate that data collection, data analysis, and the verification. Verification of data is so important. And Island Timberlands are using the same equipment and the same analyzers that the ministry is. So I'm looking forward to, you know, learning more once again about our watershed and how that works.
Councillor Paulson?
Just through the months of June, July, and August, when we did have water restrictions and escalating water restrictions, what's your general report card on the community and response to that? And Did we meet the goals that you were trying to set out? And if not, are we up against maybe a little more public education, enforcement, those sorts of things? Were we good or were we bad?
Thank you, Councillor Paulson. It really is a good opportunity for me to really thank the residents and the businesses and the water users of the community, because we did achieve our goals. In my note, I said we achieved 22%, but there were days that were 30%. You know, we were right down to, you know, wow, this is really good. So no, I think the community did respond to that. We had our level 1 water restrictions, and they had a 10% impact. And then when we went to level 2, there was a little bit more advertising and media around that. And yeah, we were able to achieve those goals. So that was very good of the community to answer that. And I could say a lot of it's outdoor watering, and yeah. So we had the Golden Lawn campaign, right? And boy, those golden lawns are luscious green now. Isn't that amazing, really, how that works? But yes, thank you very much.
Gold Star?
Yeah.
Gold Star for the community on their water conservation efforts.
Well, kudos to the community.
Yes, thank you.
City Manager?
Mr. Mayor, just for the public and council's information, I thought since the engineer's at the podium, he might want to brief us on some changes to traffic control at the Dry Creek project.
Thank you, City Manager. Mr. Mayor, it was reported to me today by our general contractor of the Dry Creek project that he's up against a fisheries window. He's got to get those culverts in 3rd Avenue before the beginning of October 9th precisely. And so he wants to double shift and expedite that work. So he set in place through me a news release to a number of people that we're going to detour traffic off of 3rd Avenue between Napier and Dunbar Street starting tomorrow morning. And we're going to work through that 5, 6, 7, 8 days through that. Unfortunately, the detour is up Napier around 4th Avenue and around. We have a traffic control plan that I've reviewed and I've approved. We've notified the media, and yeah, it's going to be an inconvenience to the public. I understand that, but I think it's critical that we get that work in this year. This is a project that can't be carried over to next year from an administrative funding perspective. So I hope Council bears with that inconvenience, but I did want to advise you because it just came to me this afternoon.
Okay, perfect, thank you. All right, anything else? Councillor Paulson?
Just a quick question on the project. Is the project basically on schedule or slightly behind? Or, are we ready to push the panic button?
No. Well, pushing the panic button in the sense that we have to expedite this last push because you know, this work in and about the stream has to be done within the I was going to say migratory of the salmon. Right? Yep. So yeah, we are pushing up against that window. There'll be some surface works that we can do afterwards, but no, we're going to get this project done, and yeah, I look forward to the final opening of that crossing, and yeah, and let it rain. You know, yeah. you can just see the capacity of that channel is greatly improved. I can also add to your vision that it will be vegetated. You know, we'll be planting, you know, hundreds and hundreds of trees through that area, and it'll come quickly, and it'll naturalize and provide shade as designed in a very short period of time.
Well done.
All right. Councillor Sauvé, do you want to make that motion?
Mr. Mayor, that the report dated September 23rd, 2015 from the city engineer announcing that effective September 28, 2015, all water restrictions are lifted within the city of Port Alberni be received.
Seconder?
Seconded.
All in favor? Okay. Thank you, City Engineer. Good job. Council, we have a status report. Any questions on that status report? Councillor Alberni?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have one.
on the truck route action item. I noticed it had, let me just bring it up here. It had 3rd and Anderson as an exception, when really it should just have 3rd in there. So I just wanted to make sure that that correction was in there, because that's how the motion was originally written.
What number was that?
It is number 23. So it said report recommending alternate truck route options, and it says other than 3rd and Anderson, but Anderson wasn't actually part of it.
Yes.
Yes, I think there was also, and you'll see there's some correspondence later on about a resident about Anderson. When we discussed this, there was also issue about traffic on Anderson.
Absolutely.
And I think that's why you see 3rd and Anderson.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Councillor Minions, you want to make the motion?
That the current status report be received.
Seconder? All in favor? Carried. Then we're on to our manager's monthly reports. RCMP. Inspector Richards, welcome.
Thank you very much. Before you is the police report for both July and August. As anticipated, the summer was very busy for the detachment. I've highlighted some of the more significant files in the report before you. Also just want to touch quickly on the value of our community programs and victim services. It's clearly evident over the summer months, hundreds and hundreds upon hours that the volunteers put in, as well as helping community members make this a safer community. Next month, just prepping a little bit, I'll provide an update on our policing priorities, the 4 priorities that are listed. There'll be a halfway point for the RCMP, so I'll just provide an update on that. And lastly, as you know, I have been transferred. My actual departure date's not known, but I'll be working with the city and the RCMP to identify new officer in charge for the detachment. So I'm sure they'll be involved in the selection process. I just want to say, although I'm not leaving anytime soon yet, still a ways off yet, I just want to thank both the city council as well as city staff for all the assistance they've provided me, as well as the detachment, hopefully making this a safer community. So thank you very much. So there will be much more work ahead of us yet to find a replacement for me. It won't be that hard, but there'll be lots of people interested, so that'll be coming up. As I said, it's a long ways off. You're not going to get rid of me yet. I'll be here for a few months yet.
And Inspector Richards, is it still transferring to the opposite side of the country?
Just about as far as I can go. For me, it was a little bit of both. It was a good job opportunity, as well as a bit of an adventure. We get to see Eastern Canada. I'm a Western boy, but I thought I would try in the eastern part of the country. So, as I said, it's an adventure. We're looking forward to it.
And if Green Gables, here I come.
Yes, for sure.
The beach in Cavendish is amazing. Councillor Paulson.
You're going to be missed, and thank you for all your service.
Well, thank you very much.
The second thing is it's almost on the screen here. In your plan was the walkabout through the businesses and leaving the card.
Yeah, that's something that we have started a few months ago now, but we sort of was on the back burner just with the summer holidays. So it's a program that the police officers as well as citizens on patrol are doing. We're checking different businesses on a random basis through the community. Sort of the old style where the police would walk the streets and shake doorknobs. That's kind of what it is. We've had some success already. We found a couple of businesses that they forgot to lock up at the end of the night. Those ones we just contact the owner. So again, it's part of our visibility as well as our safety program, and so we'll be seeing that over the next number of months yet.
Just the last comment I have is I attended the press conference on the unsolved murder, and I just want to commend the RCMP and the force for never giving up. And it was a very heart-wrenching morning. It was very emotional, but I'm sure it's good for the family. But above all, after 9 years, it's good to see that those sorts of things, you never give up on them. And they alluded to some new technology that's maybe helped out, and thank you for that. That's incredible, and I'm sure that'll help the family
I'll pass
in the
on,
long
I
run.
said,
Yeah.
That's our role in the community, amongst other things, and as I said at the press conference, just because it's not solved in the first instance doesn't mean that we forget or that it is pushed aside. Some do take longer than others, often longer than we would like, but they continue to be worked on.
Our community is grateful. Thank you.
Councillor Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Inspector, I just wanted to know how we all did this summer. Salmon Festival, Toy Run, Fall Fair. Any major?
Well, they all went pretty much as we anticipated. There's lots of people in town, so our calls for service do go up, but for the most part, uneventful would be
we all
kind of
played
a nice
nice?
term. Yeah,
Okay.
pretty much.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And council, when it comes to the replacement, discussions on the replacement for Inspector Richards, council will be involved along with a number of other community groups. So we'll get our opportunity for input into what that's going to look like. So. Councillor Paulson, do you want to make the motion?
I'd like to move that the monthly report from the RCMP providing information about current departmental operations be received.
Seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Carried. And economic development. Mr. Deacon, welcome.
Mr. Mayor, Council. First off, last week, a couple of agencies in the community celebrated BC Disability Employment Month. And because none of council was available or others on the management team, I accepted a certificate of appreciation for the city of Port Alberni as a valued partner in promoting employment opportunities for persons with disabilities. So I'll leave that with the
City clerk would be good. Thank you.
If I may. Second, I'm delighted to report that if you go to Simon Fraser University's website in the Community Economic Development Program in the 2015-16 cohort, you will see that the Economic Development Assistant, Stephanie Stevens, is enrolled in that program and has been accepted, and in fact she starts in the program next week. Most of the program work will be done online. There are a couple of periods of time where she will be in Vancouver at SFU, but we're delighted that she's picking up some more accreditation there. Thirdly, I have distributed a piece of information about the BC Innovator Skills Initiative, which is a program that allows a BC-based technology company to receive 2 vouchers per year, and the value of each voucher is between $5,000 and $7,500 to hire a student for work terms. So I have distributed that to the firms that we're aware of that are working in the tech field. But if council wants to check with me afterwards to find out if there is, if we've passed the information along to a firm that they know about, that we may not, be happy to receive your inquiry. And then I know council was preoccupied with UBCM last week. At the outset of that conference, Civic Info BC issued a news release about a program called BritishColumbia.ca, which is a joint venture of the Ministry of International Trade and Ministry of Jobs, Tourism and Skills Training, and it makes it a lot easier for communities of our size without the resources that some of the larger communities have to connect potential investors with opportunities and make them aware of that. And I was pleased that the program came to Port Alberni for a quote in the media release. So those are a few items that aren't covered in the report. Happy to answer any questions you might have about where we're at with various initiatives.
Councillor McClellan.
Yeah, number one, District Energy RFP. You say you held a visit and briefing for proponents who could make it on September 1st and September 24th for those that couldn't make it, a teleconference. How many people were interested, and did they look like they were still interested after the session?
So we had 7 firms represented at the site tour, and 2 other firms were on the conference call, and these were ones that were not able to make the tour and the briefing. So 9 firms. I would venture a guess that a couple of the firms will collaborate, but we are anticipating that we will have proposals by the deadline of November 3rd.
And also number 3, tourism survey and research. It's good where they were doing that. Have you, and I know we've talked about this in the past, and I keep talking about it on an occasion, has anyone ever come forward with a concept of putting in an RV park, a proper one, in our area? There's a
yes.
lot of RVs are staying in Nanaimo, and they're driving here to go on the Lady Rose and driving back, and we're not getting them. And others are coming and parking down on the dock just quickly while they're down on the boat, and then they leave. And there's other things. So I believe we're missing a big thing. I know we're looking at one possibly at the McLean Mill, but that's a distance off yet, likely, but you never know.
So, Mr. Mayor, through to Councillor McClellan, we did attempt to land an RV park developer a few years back. At the end of the day, the individual wanted more concessions than what council was willing to give for an RV park. The issue has come up again in the course of the survey. I don't know, and it's come up from some of the businesses that are hosting the ballot boxes. A couple of them have said to me, hey, we think one thing that would help is an RV park. It may come out of the visitors themselves, but certainly it's come out from a couple of the business owners, along with some suggestions for where it might go. So I will be bringing something forward to council at a future meeting in respect of that.
All right. Anything else? Councillor Washington, you want to make the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The monthly report from the Economic Development Manager providing information about the current departmental operations be received.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Carried. Then we're on to Part G for bylaws. In the advisory planning Commission. We have a summary report from September 17th, meeting of the Advisory Planning Commission. We have a zoning map amendment development application. Councillor Alberni, do you want to make that motion?
Yes, sir. That council for the city of Port Alberni proceed with a map amendment to the zoning bylaw, Schedule A, zoning map, to change the designation of Lot 2, District Lot 13, Alberni District Plan VIP 16048, except part in Plan VIP 81280 PID 0040130051, located at 4965 Gordon Avenue, from R1 Single Family Residential to R3 Small Lot Single Family Residential.
And, so you might as well just carry on. with
Sure.
your
And that as part of the development process, the applicant be required to receive a preliminary layout approval letter for the proposed subdivision from the City of Port Alberni's approving officer before final adoption of the bylaw.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. And then, turning the page, Councillor Alberni.
That zoning map amendment number 8, 4965 Gordon Avenue, Hall, bylaw number 4888 be now introduced and read a first time.
Is there a seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Carried.
That zoning map amendment number 8, 4965 Gordon Avenue, Hall, bylaw number 4888 be read a second time.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Carried.
That zoning map amendment number 8, 4965 Gordon Avenue, Hall, bylaw number 4888 be advanced to a public hearing on Tuesday, October 13th, 2015 at 6 o'clock in the City Hall Council Chambers.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you. And then we're on to the permissive tax exemption bylaw, number 4887. City Clerk, is there any special information that we need to be aware of?
Public notice has been provided over the last 2 weeks in local papers with regards to the next 3 items, all permissive tax exemption bylaws. They are required to be adopted by October 31st, and each year we've received no input or correspondence on any of them.
Thank you. Councillor McClellan, do you want to make that first one?
Permissive tax exemption bylaw 2016, bylaw number 4887 be now finally adopted, signed by Mayor and Clerk, sealed with the corporate seal and numbered 4887.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Carried. And do you want to keep going there?
Sure.
Councillor McClellan?
I move the permissive tax exemption Central Park bylaw 2016, bylaw number 4884 now be finally adopted, signed by the Mayor and Clerk, sealed with the corporate seal numbered 4884.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Carried.
And number 4, I move that the places of worship exemption bylaw number 4886 be now finally adopted, signed by the Mayor and Clerk, sealed with the corporate seal and numbered 4886.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All those in favor? Carried. Thank you. We have H, correspondence for action. First one is from Mr. Mark Speed. It's an email dated August the 18th expressing concern about food waste from supermarkets and provided information regarding an initiative by the French government. Councillor Alberni, you wish to make that motion?
Yes, that the email dated August 18th, 2015 expressing concern regarding food waste from supermarkets be received.
Seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. And from the Canal Beach Water Sports Society, we have an email suggesting the City of Port Alberni could benefit from a Partner in Parks program, which is designed to improve parks and open spaces while utilizing skills and energy of volunteers. I think it's similar to one in Nanaimo. Councillor Minions, do you wish to make this motion?
That the email from the Canal Beach Water Sports Society regarding a Partner in Parks program be received and referred to staff for review and recommendation.
Is there a seconder?
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Carried. And from the Westbrook Pony Club, we have a letter from September 17th requesting permission to hold an equine toy ride on city streets on November 22nd, starting at 11:30. Councillor Sobe, do you want to make that motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that the letter dated September 17, 2015, requesting permission to hold a equine toy ride on city streets on November 22nd at 11:30 a.m. be received and approved subject to no disruptions to traffic and the group assuming full liability and events for the event.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. And then we're on to proclamations. From the Recycling Council of British Columbia. We have a letter from September 14th requesting October 19th to 25th be proclaimed Waste Reduction Week. Councillor McClellan, you want to make that motion?
Sure, Mr. Mayor, the letter dated September 14th, 2015, from the Recycling Council of BC requesting October 19 to 25, 2015 be proclaimed as Waste Reduction Week in Port Alberni, be received and the week proclaimed as requested.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
Any discussion? All in favor? Carried. And then we have informational correspondence. City Clerk, do you want to just review that correspondence for us, please?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just 3 items this evening. A letter from the Ambulance Paramedics of British Columbia, QP 873, provides information regarding an ongoing dispute between the municipality of Delta and the BC Emergency Health Services Commission. RCMP Pacific Region Municipal Policing Agreement expenditures are provided to August 31st, 2015. And lastly, an email from John Kenchenton announcing that Port Alberni Eurofest 2015 will take place on Saturday, October the 10th, 2015, and it will be an all-day event.
All right. We need a motion to receive and file. Councillor Sobe?
Make a motion that the informational correspondence item 1 to 3 be received and filed, Mr. Mayor.
Seconder? Councillor McClellan?
Yeah, I'd just like to make note of the third one here, Eurofest. I see we got here Oktoberfest they have on the, I wanted to make sure that Eurofest was really the old Oktoberfest I used to know. And that's being taking place this year on the Thanksgiving weekend. And I see that the big party is at the Glenwood Center. And they're also doing a morning thing out of the Black Powder Club with guns. So it looks like here shooters pay $10, everybody else can come and watch for free. At the same time, there will be a winter type rendezvous out there. It won't be everybody in tents or anything. It's kind of cold and wet usually for that. But there'll be a few. So anyone wants to come out and look at that, John's done a good job, I think, organizing all this and getting everybody cooperating. So hope it's a good weekend for everybody.
Are you going to do Thanksgiving dinner out there on that weekend?
Somebody might have Thanksgiving dinner out there, yep. But I think the big Thanksgiving dinner is going to be at Glenwood Center. That's the party. But you got to be 19 years old of age or more to get there.
All right. Any other comment? All those in favor? Carried. All right, there's nothing to come out from in camera, and that brings us to council reports. So the first report is my report. Just relatively quickly, since the last council meeting, city manager and I went to Nanaimo, met with the mayor and city manager of Nanaimo. It's followed with, I then took the opportunity and went up to a 1 day of a 2.5 day tourism Vancouver Island convention that was in Campbell River. Came back in time for the Community Forest AGM, which was very informative, well organized. Following day, city manager and I did a tour of Cold Creek and Hole in the Wall, courtesy of Island Timberlands, and received some great information about their logging plans in that area, as well as other plans that they have. I was invited to attend an energy alternatives session in Parksville on behalf of the city of Port Alberni. It was great, particularly when it came to information about hydro opportunities through BC Hydro about the use of solar power. And then, of course, September 20th to 25th, the UBCM had a number of meetings, meeting with the Ministry of Forests and the RCMP reps, as well as the new Minister of Education. Council would be interested to know I was actually received my very own helmet. Once I had been through the fire ops day on Monday, and this is not, just any helmet. This helmet comes with my name on it, and this is, quite the helmet. It's all padded and everything, so it's definitely something that I will have in the event of an emergency.
There's the odd council, there's
Yes.
the odd council meeting where you may have to wear that.
All right, so that's my report. I move that it be received.
I'll second that, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Carried. Regional District Report, Councillor McClellan.
Yeah, there was 3 meetings, I guess, in Regional District in the last little bit. There was the regular meeting, which wasn't overly long, back on the, I believe, the 11th of September, if I got that date right. And basically, I guess the main part that came out of the public meeting, because it wasn't overly long, was somebody presenting to us, asking us to put little stickers on the gas pumps explaining why we shouldn't be burning gas and how evil it was for us. So as there's no gas stations in the regional district, they just voted to support them somehow. There was another meeting that I attended with Councillor Alberni on the an exercise that we're going to be having in here in Port Alberni, and it's supposed to be in sometime next year, early. I've forgotten the exact date, but I'm sure, Chris, you'll probably know that. June? Okay, and it's going to be a pretend earthquake event, and the whole province is coming, and even Premier Christy Clark talked about it, but she forgot to mention which town it was going to be in. I did note that. There's going to be some fire and personnel training happening here, and it's being sponsored by the fire departments, and that was brought up and discussed at the Alberni Valley Committee meeting. So that was the 3 meetings, and Councillor Polson was at that meeting with me. He might remember more. So that's what I remember. The other 3 that were with me might remember more.
Your memory's like a steel trap jar.
Nothing gets in it. Okay, I move the report.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Carried. And now on to councillors' reports. Councillor Washington.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The earthquake meeting on the 16th at the regional district, myself and Councillor Sauvé were there with Councillor Alman and McClellan in the gallery. 17th attended Salmon Festival semi-wind-up meeting. Turns out we sold 1,588 Derby tickets, which will keep the Salmon Festival in the block for another year. And last week, unfortunately, I was unable to attend the UBCM. Was back in Alberta visiting my mother, who's just recovered out of hospital with a neck and back injury. So unfortunately, I missed that, but it was good to see my mom. So that's my report.
Thank you. Councillor Alman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just have the emergency meeting that Councillor McClellan in Washington already spoke to, so I won't speak to that. And then the UBCM, which was excellent. But if folks want to see what happened, what went down, they can go to my website, chrisalamani.ca. So it'll be on there.
Okay.
In the interest of time. Otherwise, it might be another 5 days before it all.
Councillor Minions.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, first of all, to Chris for putting that big update on your blog, because there's a lot of good information on there, and I think it's good for people in the public to see what went on at UBCM. Other than UBCM, I attended a Rainbow Gardens board meeting where we had some great discussion about some projects that they're looking at. And then our library board meeting where we passed our budget for this year, with all but myself and Penny Cote supporting it, but it did pass. So it is a 3.66, I think, % increase over last year. So down a little bit. Last year was a 5.25% increase, so not as big of an increase as last year, but still a decent sized increase for an already high cost. So lots more discussion there to happen in the future. And that's my report.
And that's a topic of discussion
Yes, it
elsewhere
is.
as well.
Another topic.
Councillor Paulson.
September 16th, I attended the info session on the 2016 Coastal Emergency Response exercise coming up. Well over 100 emergency responders from outside of our community will be here, and we will be experiencing a 9.0 earthquake that day and week. So it'll be interesting to see how we respond.
Followed by a tsunami, right?
Followed by a tsunami, that's right. September 16th, attended the Razor Reader Celebrity Ball Hockey Challenge, and I would have to say that Councillor Sobe was stellar as a goaltender in that event.
Thanks to you, thank you.
Yeah, well, there's no referee that can't influence the outcome of a game, so I was on your side. On September the 18th, there's a new committee, and really spearheaded by the mayor, and it's a new concept, a social housing retrofit committee, and essentially it is a project where you would have homes that are sturdy but able to be retrofitted and upgraded, and give an opportunity for through education and hands-on education for people who need family and life skills, and possibly at the end of the day they would have a home to live in. You may want to expound on that concept, but I think
wait till it's fleshed out more.
yeah. And September 21st to 25th, attended the UBCM. Once again, ongoing education for a new counselor like myself, and it was totally invaluable. 2 days of going through motions and lots of debate going back and forth, and they go all the way from talking about the Highway of Tears to environmental issues. It's for many it's very boring, but as a new first-timer it was very interesting. And for every one of those events there's always one thing that stands out in your mind, and one of the keynote speakers was Dr. Roberta Bondar. And Dr. Bondar is a Canadian astronaut who flew on the shuttle program, and she is a true Canadian. She is an exemplary person. She was named Canada's Greatest Explorers by Canadian Geographic. She's a photographer of great note and acclaim, but above all, her message was very emotional and very heartfelt. And like I say, every once in a while, you go through something that leaves an impression with you, and she certainly did. Special lady and true Canadian. That's my report, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Sobe?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the 15th of September, I attended the grand opening of École des Cèdres, which is a French school here in our city, and I had the privilege to represent the city there and made a nice speech and fully bilingual, and was well received by the people there. The 16th Razor Reader Bulldog game at the multiplex. Note to self that I need to wear protective gear next time. So some of those players have heavy shots, so I'm still suffering to this date. Also, right after the Bulldog games, I had an opportunity to attend the Echo Fieldhouse for the AGM Community Forest Legacy meeting, which was very informative, and I learned a few things there, and I'll be looking forward to attending more meetings. On the 16th, well, we had the ACRD boardroom, Alberni Valley Emergency Planning Committee. It's already been spoken about. On the 18th, I attended the Hilton Center Daycare for a photo opportunity representing the city as for contributions from the community forestry legacy for the center itself. And they got a nice tour there, so everything was well received. And that's about it, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. And Councillor McLennan.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I haven't seen Councillor Alberni's blog yet. In fact, I don't even know how to get to it, so that's probably safe. But I did notice that he was doing a lot of notes, and that's good. I've taken a few here, and if you need extra advice, just let me know. You can fill them in. But some of the interesting things that I did attend at the UBCM was a forestry, they call it 3C, some corporation was actually putting it on, and they were explaining to us how good they were doing for us and all, and talking about the community forests and the Woodlot Association, and evidently there's now 860 woodlots in British Columbia, which is, I think, a decent number. But I guess what we're going to have to be doing is getting them expanded, and I know what I say isn't always a popular thing with the government, but we need to see BC timber sales reducing and the community and First Nation forests increasing. So let's hope that can do. We did have the AGM, the community forest you've already heard about, and we're starting logging again. It's a little bit just for the end of this year. We won't be seeing a profit this year, obviously, but at least there's a bit we can do, and we're hoping to get a larger cut and get some for the education that kind of been, keep forgetting to give it to us, I guess is the best way of saying it. And just one other thing, I did have a call this morning about some traffic on Anderson Avenue where a logging truck, one of the residents was actually watching and counting students, went halfway through the intersection prior to stopping. So I think we should put a shout out that there's kids out there, and I know we've been talking about 3rd Avenue, but Anderson gets a lot of trucks as well, and I think we should be supporting them and what they want. And I think for this time, Mr. Mayor, that'll be, should do. Now, move all these reports.
Second, Mr. Mayor.
All in favor? Carried. Thank you, Council. Doesn't appear to be any new business. And so it brings us on to question period. It's an opportunity, public and press, to ask questions of Mayor and Council. Please come forward.
Neil Hanson, 8th Avenue. Councillor McLennan just brought up an issue I think it's quite important to this community. It's on the RV park, and I know you're making moves, but I'm wondering why we haven't been more aggressive over the years, considering that for a while now we've been trying to promote tourism to find a proper area for a park. My second comment or question would be, why did the previous council not look at the site that's now a Ford dealership as what I would think would be an ideal place for an RV park? We're looking at developing the marina. It's visible to anyone going up north to Long Beach, and it had been brought up by numerous people. It wasn't brought up by myself, but I'm wondering why the previous council, if we do have members, never considered that. Was it a Chevy dealership? Maybe different, but the Ford. So we got a Ford dealership where I think that would have been the perfect place. And I think we have a tendency at times to just jump on things without giving it a lot more thought. And I could give other examples, but I don't think that's necessary. I can if you want. But on the RV parks, what more perfect place that would have been. Not subject to huge problems with the tsunamis, the type of development. And so 2 questions, if I can just get a response, I'd appreciate that.
All right. City Manager.
Mr. Mayor, seeing as that was the previous council, I know that that site had been the subject of such a discussion, and I think Pat Deacon could probably best describe the discussion that occurred.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor and councilors, we did go after an RV park developer about 3 years ago. I got in touch with the province, asked them for the names of the 3 best developers in the province. They gave us 3. We contacted them. The one who was most receptive to the overture, we brought to the community. We did take a look at Sterling Field. And as I mentioned earlier, at the end of the day, the individual wanted more concessions to have the park there than what that council was prepared to give. We also showed the individual, we showed him a piece of property alongside Paper Mill Dam. We showed him a piece of property that the 17 acres that the city owns in behind the Pacific Rim Mall, and a few other sites that were outside of the community, including we drove out to McLean's Mill. The developer then set his sights on the 17 acres, which was in the agricultural land reserve. So we went to the Agricultural Advisory Committee at the Regional District, said we had this opportunity here, got their support for having an RV park located there, and then took it to the Agricultural Land Commission, who refused the application, refused to take it out of the land reserve for that purpose. And they said that it was to protect the farmlands to the north of that property. We continue to pursue an RV park developer, and there are some discussions going on at the moment.
All right, thank you, Mr. Deacon, and thank you for your question, Mr. Anderson.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, any other questions from the public? Then a motion to adjourn would be in order. Second? All in favor? Carried.